Welcome to the Radically Christian Bible Study Podcast. I'm your host, Wes McAdams. Here we have one goal: learn to love like Jesus. Well, today our setup, our format is completely different than it normally is. Usually I have a guest and we talk about some sort of a biblical topic and how to live out a Christian principle in our life. But today, my guest is Logos Bible Software, or Logos Bible Software, depending on how you pronounce that Greek word. But we're going to be looking at that Bible software and talking about the things that I really like and appreciate about it. They've just come out with a new update. It's now a subscription-based software, and I really think that it's going to make it more affordable for people to use this Bible software. I think it's worth the investment that it takes monthly, and I think that you're really going to enjoy it. And I want to walk through some of the things that I really like about it and tell you why I think it might be worth investing in, or at least it might be worth exploring. I can give you access to an extended free trial. I think that at this time you'll get about 2 months of free trial, and I think that will give you enough time to explore it and to see if it's something that you think that will be beneficial for your Bible study. I know that it's certainly been beneficial for mine. I want to thank Logos Bible Software for giving me access. They've given me access to it in return for a review. Of course, they have not told me how I needed to review it or what my opinion needs to be on it. I'm free to tell you the things that I like and the things that I don't care for. There are some of the things that I don't care for, and I'll share with you some of those. But a lot of the things that I really enjoy, my favorite is the new search feature. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, but I think the search feature in the new Logos Bible software is worth the entire monthly subscription cost. I think that it makes it a game changer. It absolutely changes how I use this. It's probably going to end up meaning that I invest in a lot more books within the Logos system so that I can use the search feature attached to that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But first, I want to show you sort of how I have my software set up, how I use it. I've walked through this before. There is another video out there, but it was an older version of Logos. This is the new subscription-based update. So you can see the way that I use it now and the way that I have it laid out now, which is very similar to the way I've had it laid out for a while. But if you're not familiar with the software, this will give you a good peek under the hood before you try it out, hopefully. But if you are familiar, this may give you some idea on some different ways that you might use it that you might not be aware of. But if there are things that you're doing that you think that I might be able to benefit from, please don't hesitate to teach me, because I'm still learning. There's a lot that I don't know. If you've tried out Logos Bible Software in the past and you were sort of overwhelmed by it because it seemed to be just gigantic and difficult to deal with, I think that you'll be impressed. I think that it's over time, I think it's becoming more and more user-friendly, simple, and easy to use. But I really do think that it is incredibly helpful, whether you're a preacher or you're a Bible class teacher, a small group leader, an elder, a youth minister, or you just want to study the Bible and have more tools and resources at your fingertips. I think that this is going to be helpful for you. You might be listening to the podcast on audio. You might be listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever. And so you might not be able to see the things that I'm talking about. This might be one of those episodes where I would encourage you to stop and go and check out the YouTube version of it. I think it'd be a little bit more helpful because you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But that being said, I will do my best to try to give you an audio version of what I'm doing and what I'm showing people, so that you'll be able to picture in your mind what we're looking at, if possible. But that being said, you probably should check out the YouTube version if you're interested in what we're talking about today. And I think that this will be helpful for everybody. I want to first look at the layout as you open up the Logos. Again, I'm going to go back and forth. I usually say Logos. Some people say Logos. I think both are probably correct. But when you look at the dashboard, this is kind of what you'll see. Honestly, I don't really use the dashboard. I'm sure that there are all kinds of good tools here, different things that you will be updated about, the things that are available in their in their store that you can buy, but also, right here, there's this month's free book. So they're always giving away free books. And the more you add to your library, the more resources that you'll have and the more you can draw from. So anytime you can pick up a free book, I would encourage you to do that. Add that to your library, and that way you're constantly using that when you search. And we'll talk more about the search feature in just a moment. But I really don't spend a lot of time on the dashboard. I probably should. There's probably a lot of good stuff there, but I don't spend a lot of time there. There are different sort of widgets that you can add. I've tried messing around with the church prayer list or having different prayer lists. There's different ways you can create a prayer list and add that to your dashboard, but I don't spend enough time there to warrant that. So I put my prayer list in other places. But if you want to use that or check that out or explore that, that's definitely a feature that is there. But there are all kinds of sort of pre-built layouts that they have. You can open it up where there's a Bible and a commentary side by side. And as you study, you can look at what that one particular commentary has to say. There's a Bible journaling layout, a Bible reading plan, daily devotional, all kinds of different plans. I'm just going to open up to this simple Bible layout. And here we just have the Bible laid out, and we have the different toolbars at the top. And then on the side, there's this new Insights tab that opens up automatically. And you'll see that we'll use that here in just a little bit, but that's kind of a cool new feature, the Insights tab, and you can use that to look at various commentaries and different things that are pulled up as you explore, as you read your Bible. But what I really want to show you is ways that you can create custom layouts. So I'll show you the way that I create a custom layout when I am working with Scripture. Usually when I use Logos, I'm preparing a lesson. I don't use this typically for my personal Bible reading. Sometimes I will, but this isn't how I would do my personal Bible reading. That would probably still be in a paper Bible, or sometimes I'll read on my iPad or something like that. But I'm probably not going to be using Logos a lot for just my personal Bible study. Again, that would be a great idea, and you certainly can do that. It's certainly a great way to do your personal Bible reading, but it's probably not the way that I do my personal Bible reading most of the time, and I'm using it for lesson preparation. So I'm going to show you my lesson prep layout. This is what it looks like, but I think it might be helpful if I build it for you. So the tools that I'm going to use are the exegetical guide and the fact book and the search tab, and then my Bible. Okay, so those are the different tools that I'm going to add to my layouts. I'm going to go back to that simple Bible layout. So we're going to start with something like this that's just a Bible, and then I'm going to add to it the tools that I want to use. So I'm going to go up here to fact book on the left-hand side. This is a really cool tool, and I'm going to add this as a tab just on the side here. So I've got on one side, I've got my fact book, and on the other side, I've got the Bible. And I want to make it so that when I scroll through my Bible or when I go to a new reference, they are linked to each other. So I'm gonna add right here. There's this little 3-dot menu, and it says link set, and you can link it to your Bible. So I'm going to click on the letter A, and if you notice up here on this tab, on the Bible tab, it has an A right beside English Standard Version. That's the standard or the version of the Bible I have open. And there's this little A. And now beside my fact book, it has the letter A. So when I type in a new passage, we'll say Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 10. Okay. And so when I go to that in my Bible, it automatically goes to that on the fact book. And the fact book has all kinds of different resources open to that passage. So the way I always describe this is like, if you had an assistant when you were preparing a lesson, again, this doesn't have to be for preachers. It could be you're just studying a passage, or you're preparing for a Bible class, or you're preparing for a small group, and you were going to study Ephesians. Let's start at the beginning of the chapter. Let's say we're going to study Ephesians chapter 2. We're going to open up to Ephesians chapter 2, and then you have an assistant that is going to go to your library and pull off of the shelf all of your commentaries and open them to Ephesians chapter 2, so that when you're ready for that commentary, you could just go and look at what that commentary says on that particular chapter. So it opens up all of my commentaries to that particular place because we have these linked. Because there's that little letter A right there and that little letter A right there, now the commentaries or the fact book is linked with the Bible. So if I change chapters in the Bible, it changes chapters or it changes locations in the fact book, and it opens all of these commentaries to that location. There are other resources that are attached to that as well. There's this section called People, Places, and Things. And so it's going to link to various, the church at Ephesus, Jesus, God, Paul, and give you different resources on that. But there's also media down here. So it's going to pull open different media sources that might be related to that passage that you're looking at, different sermons that are available, some early church fathers' sermons, Jim L. Wilson, I'm not sure who that is, John Piper. So different sermons that are from that passage. And then there's all kinds of other resources down here at the bottom, dig deeper section, where you can look at different resources that are related to that chapter that you have. But again, if I change the chapter, if I want to go to Matthew chapter 5, hit enter, and then it changes my fact book to that location. And it has a whole new set of people, places, and things, a whole new set of media, a whole new set of digging deeper articles and resources. So anytime you have these tools that are opened together, I really like to link them together so that when I change, you wouldn't have to be that way. So if I unlink it and say none, if I change my Bible to Matthew chapter 6, nothing happens over here on the fact book. But if I link them together, then every time I change one, the other one changes as well. So every time I open up a new tool, I'm going to link that together so that all of those are on the same page and they all are linked to the same passage that I'm studying at that time. Okay, so we want to open the fact book. We also want to open, what else did I say? We also want to have the search bar or the search tab. So I'm going to open that as well. I'm going to drag that over. I like that over here with my tools. Okay, so the search tab is also open. And then we also want the exegetical guide, I believe is my other. Let's see, where is that hiding? Here's the exegetical guide. So the exegetical guide is under more shortcuts, I guess, right here. And then I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to bring that over with my other tools here. And again, I'm going to link it with the letter A, link set to there. You don't have to do that with the search bar. I guess you could do that, but I'm not sure what value that would have. I don't link the search bar, but I do link the exegetical guide. So now, again, we want to pull open Ephesians chapter 2. We're going to say Ephesians 2:1. And because my exegetical guide is tied to that, then it's going to show me both in Greek and in English. If we were looking at an Old Testament passage, Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 1, it's going to put on the left-hand side, it's going to put the Hebrew, and on the right-hand side, it's going to put the English. And then it's going to break down every single one of those words in the original language. It's going to show you how it's used and where it's used. It's going to allow you to open it in whatever books you have in your resource library. It's going to allow you to click on that and then go to that. So again, let's go to Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 1. And then I can open up the lexicon, and it's going to show me the definition of that word and all the places where it's found and different senses in which that word is used. And then I can close that out. And anytime I want to open up a new or click on another word, it's going to open that up for me again and bring up the different places it's used and different ways in which it's used. So I find that incredibly helpful. So this is the layout that I use essentially for my Bible study, my preparation. If I clicked on lesson prep, you would see that it's similar to what is laid out right here, because this is the way that I have it set up for my lesson prep shortcut or my lesson prep layout. But I could actually save this layout right here. So I have all of these tabs open. And let's say I like this. This is the way that I really want to study my Bible. Every time I prepare a lesson, I'm going to want my Bible open. I'm going to want my fact book open. I'm going to want my exegetical guide open. And I'm going to want my search tab open, and all opened and linked to the same place. I don't want to have to do that every single time. I don't want to set up that layout every time. So I can come down here under the layouts button, and I can save this open one right at the top. It says save as named layout. So I can save this one, and I'm just going to say test because I don't want it to overwrite what I already have. But now I have this test layout right here. I can go to my lesson prep, So you're going to see it's going to look exactly the same as what we have set up. But this is, I did exactly the same thing with that. If I wanted to move this layout that we just created, I can move this over here to all of my shortcuts. I can bring it up there. I can give it a little icon so that I recognize where it is. Okay. And right there, and now I can open up whatever tab that I want opened up. And when I'm ready to do my lesson prep, I just click that and it is set up exactly the way that I want it set up. Now I'm going to delete that because I don't actually want that there, because we have the same thing in the lesson prep layout, which is that's the layout that I use 99% of the time. But you could do whatever you want. Again, the sky's the limit. And I think it's fairly simple. I think it's pretty straightforward. But if you just jump into Logos, you may get overwhelmed right at the beginning, because there are sort of a lot of buttons. But once you get your layout set up the way that you like it, that's the thing, is that it's a really powerful tool, and I'm only scratching the surface of what is available and what can be done with it. But I'm a preacher, and I'm creating podcasts and those kinds of things. That's what I need to do. And I, like most tools, like any word processor that you use or Internet Explorer that you use, Internet browser, I guess is the right word. Any Internet browser that you use, you're probably only scratching the surface of that tool, but you use it the way you need to use it. You use it for your workflow. And this is what works for me. And so I just really don't explore a whole lot of other things outside of this, but you could set up your layout however you wanted to. And you could have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different layouts set up depending on what you wanted to do. So if you wanted a layout that was just set up for your personal Bible study, great, do that. Or you can open on one tab, you can have a notebook and you could be taking your notes. And on the other tab, you can have your Bible, and then you could have a particular commentary that you like to use. There's not one particular commentary that I just go to all of the time. I like to have a lot of different commentaries when it's time for me to start looking at, okay, what do other people say about this passage? I want to look at various commentaries and explore what everybody has to say about it, not just one particular person. So I'm gonna have the fact book so that I have all of the commentaries open to the same place, and I can quickly just browse between the different interpretations and perspectives on that passage. So again, you can create the layout that works for you. This is the layout that works for me. This is what I really like and enjoy, and I find it really helpful. I really want to talk about the search feature because this is the bread and butter. This is the amazing update to the new Logos, the subscription-based version of the software. And this is one of the reasons why it is subscription, because this is really a powerful tool. And in order to, keep access to it, they have to be able to continue to give us these updates. And I think this is, in the long run, going to be really helpful. And if you haven't already purchased the software, it's actually the subscription model is actually probably an easier way to get into it, as opposed to before when you had to invest, $1,000 or something in order to really get invested in it. Now you can do it for a subscription fee, and we'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But I want to talk about this search feature because I find this incredibly helpful. So it uses AI, and that kind of might make you nervous, I guess, if you think about AI. But the way that something like ChatGPT works is that it's using this I guess, large language model, I think is the terminology. But it's taking your question, it's taking your prompt, and then it's drawing information from everywhere, from the internet, from all human knowledge that's been accumulated on the internet. And then it is aggregating and creating some sort of a response that sounds like a human being and how a human might respond to your question, which is incredibly helpful, incredibly powerful, depending on what you're looking for. But what AI tends to do, what ChatGPT and Claude AI and all of these other different softwares, what they will do, all this other technology, what it tends to do is, I think they talk about it hallucinating. That's the word. So it talks about AI hallucinating because if it doesn't know the answer, it tends to make up an answer because it's just it's drawing from all of this information out there, and it's just aggregating the information in a way that seems to be a intelligent answer, which may or may not be intelligent because it's artificial intelligence. But Logos is using AI. And again, I mean, it's obvious that I'm out of my depth when I talk about this stuff, but what it's doing is it's drawing from your library. So it's drawing not from the internet at large. Again, if you wanted to know the answer to some question, you could Google it, you could ask ChatGPT, but it's only as good as the information it's drawing from. And so Google is searching the whole World Wide Web, and AI similarly is searching all of the database that it has access to. But Logos is searching the books that are in your library. So again, it would be like asking a Bible question. If you're asking a Bible question to Google, it would be like going out on the street and just interviewing, who has the most clout on the street can give you a Bible answer. And those are going to be the answers that are at the top of your Google search results. Or if you ask ChatGPT a Bible question, you're just really just surveying thousands, millions of people and asking them the question that's on your mind. But this is more like asking a group of theologians, because you're drawing from the books that are in your library. So you're drawing from a theological library, which probably is going to give you a much better answer than Googling your question or asking ChatGPT your question. Again, we probably all do that sometimes. We say, where is this in the Bible, or where is that in the Bible? And it's fairly accurate. But if you're asking a deep theological question, you do not want to ask Google, and you probably don't even want to ask ChatGPT. This is a much better way to utilize AI. So this, again, I always like to compare Logos Bible software to my assistant. So it's like having an assistant that you say, hey, I'm going to be studying from Romans chapter 12. Would you grab my commentaries on Romans 12 and start opening those commentaries for me? And so that's typically what I would use Logos to do. This is more like, hey, I'm really, really wondering, what are the various interpretations of this particular phrase? So one of the words that Paul uses a lot is flesh. So let's ask the search tab, what are some of the various ways Paul uses the word flesh? In Greek, it's sarx. We won't put that in the question, though. So what are some of the various ways Paul uses the word flesh, and what are some of the various interpretations of flesh? Okay, so this is a pretty deep Bible question that you might be asking or wondering, and you can word this in such a way that you would ask an actual real-life person, and it is going to use the theological books that are in your library to create an answer. So let's see what it gives us. I've not asked this question before, so I'm not sure what it's going to say. So it's going to create this synopsis at the top, and again, it's using AI to create this synopsis. It says, Paul uses the term flesh, again, sarx in Greek, in various ways throughout his writings. In some instances, it refers to the physical body or human nature without any negative connotations. However, Paul often employs flesh to describe the human condition apart from God's influence, prone to sin and opposed to the divine. This usage is particularly evident in Paul's contrast between flesh and spirit in his epistles. The apostle portrays the flesh as hostile to God and spiritual matters, representing a state of separation from the divine. Paul also uses flesh to describe the ongoing struggle believers face against sinful tendencies, as seen in Romans 7:14-23. Some interpretations, like Martin Luther's, suggest that Paul's use of flesh encompasses the whole person, body, soul, and faculties in their inclination towards sin. It's important to note that Paul's usage of flesh doesn't always imply a negative moral state, as it can also refer to physical descent or human relationships. I think that's a fantastic answer. So it covers both ways that Paul uses the word flesh, sort of in a literal way. That's one of the ways, but also in like human descendancy, like you're related to, or you're related in the flesh to these people. Jews by flesh, or those who are descendants of Abraham according to the flesh. So it uses it that way. But then there's also the use of flesh that we might be more familiar with, the metaphor of flesh, that we are prone towards sin, or we have a tendency towards sin. But what's so cool about this is it not only creates this synopsis, but it also gives us footnotes. And so it links to the various articles and books that it's drawing from so that you can click on these. We'll click on the number 1 here, and then it shows us where it's drawing that definition from. We'll click on the number 2. It's drawing from the New Unger's Bible Dictionary. Number 3, there's another article that it's drawing from, number 4. And so you can see that it links it to those places. So again, if we use the analogy of an assistant that is helping you do some Bible research, this would be like asking them a deep theological question and saying, hey, what do the various commentaries say about this question? And then your assistant would go and do some research and then would create a small synopsis and say, okay, this is what I found out. Here's what I discovered. And here's all of the places where I drew that information. And so you could trust the synopsis that person gave you. I probably wouldn't do that. I think you probably need to do your own homework, but it will show you where you can find the information from which it was drawing. That's something that you don't find in a lot of AI. Sometimes you just have to trust that it's telling you the truth, that it's not hallucinating, it's not making up answers, that it is giving you an accurate answer. And so this way, you know exactly where it's drawing from, and you can go to that article or to that book, and you can do your own research and figure out if that is something with which you agree. Again, the way that this uses this AI technology where you can ask a question, we could say, what are some of the various interpretations for Paul's thorn in the flesh? I'm not used to typing and talking at the same time. What are some of the various interpretations for Paul's thorn in the flesh? And so again, it's going to create a synopsis based on the research that it's doing. I'm going to close out these other tabs, the books that we just opened. And it says, Paul's thorn in the flesh, mentioned as 2 Corinthians 12:7, has been subject to various interpretations over time. According to the articles, this metaphorical thorn was given to Paul to keep him humble and prevent him from becoming conceited due to his spiritual revelations. And again, it links to an article, so we can read there what this author has to say about that. It says, while the exact nature of this affliction remains uncertain, several theories have been proposed. Some interpretations suggest it was a physical ailment, such as chronic eye problems, malaria, migraines. Migraines, I didn't know that was one of the interpretations. Epilepsy or speech disability, I didn't know that those were some of the interpretations. Again, if we want to click on those, we can, this is exactly where it's drawing it from. It says, such as malaria, epilepsy, a speech impediment, or chronic eye trouble. Those which see it as a mental, psychological, or spiritual condition, a manic depressive illness, perhaps a tendency to paranoia, or a struggle with sexually impure thoughts. Okay, there's a lot of different interpretations, more than I was even familiar with. So again, I think this is an incredibly powerful tool, and it really, what it does for me is it helps me to actually use a lot of the books that are in my library. There are a lot of books in my library. Logos has been very gracious with me over the years and given me packages so that I have a pretty extensive library. I've added to that library some myself and purchased books and added it to my library. But it's different when you have a digital library. You don't really think about the books that are on your shelf. I could go over here and click on the library button. I could type in whatever book I wanted to open it to. I could open that book and read, what does this have to say about this? But chances are I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about, oh, isn't there a book in my digital library that is about such and such? I'm going to go and read what it has to say about that. Instead, I'm allowing the AI, my personal assistant in the Logos Bible software, to run and grab all of the books that it thinks are going to be pertinent for my search. You can actually do this, and this is actually a pretty cool feature as well. This is drawing from your books right here. So it's under the tab of books and then your books. You can actually open it to other things, other books, or you could sort of limit the search to open books, downloaded books, cloud books. You can even search your print library. So there's actually a button on the mobile app, on the mobile Logos app, that you can scan in, and you can do it on your desktop as well, or your laptop. But you can scan in and let Logos know, hey, I have this print book as well. So I have this print book. And then it's able to search your print books as well and tell you where in your print books that passage is found. So it's going to use AI in the same way, and it's going to search for that. In fact, let's see what was, let me ask, it's drawing from all my books. Let me ask where, that might be a little too broad. What are the most reliable New Testament manuscripts that we have available? Okay, so we're going to ask that question because I think it's going to draw from one of the books that I have in print that I have told Logos is in my print library, because it's drawing from my books. Hopefully it will draw from that as well. It did not, but I'm going to ask the same question. I'm going to limit it. So it gave me a synopsis just like we did before, but I'm going to say this time I want to just ask that question to my print library. I don't want to ask it to all of my books in my library. I just want to ask it to my print library. And I think this will work. We'll see what's going to happen. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So Neil Lightfoot's How We Got the Bible. I told it, I have this book. I have the 3rd edition. It's on my shelf. And so now it's giving me a synopsis just based on that book. Again, I won't be able to read that entire book, but I can click on my number 1, the little footnote, and then it's going to tell me, or right down here, actually, it's going to tell me what page it's on. So this tells me this is on page 127, this is on 114, this is on 93. So it will tell you not only that this is found in your print library, but what page in your print library that reference can be found. So again, I think that's an incredibly powerful tool. And for those that have a print library that are kind of worried, well, now if I start using Logos or I start using a digital library, what about my print library? And there's a lot of good ways that it can incorporate that as well. So again, you can search all your books. You can search just your print books. You can search just specific books that you want to look at and still use the AI tool to help you search those books. You can also click on this All tab, and I think this is really cool as well. So this is drawing from everything, not just the books that I have available, but everything within the Logos ecosystem. So I'm going to ask the same question. What are the most reliable New Testament manuscripts that we have available? I'm going to ask that question on the All tab. And then again, it's going to create a synopsis, but most of the resources probably that it's going to be drawing from are not resources that I own. So it's going to do the same thing it's been doing. And then when I click on one of those resources, see it's drawing from a book, Systematic Theology, Volume 1, Introduction and Bible. And I can add that to my library if I wanted to spend $42.74. I could add that to my library. I could go down this list of different resources. Here's drawing from one that is in my resource library. But here's a book or an article that's $16.14. And so I could click Quick Buy and add that to my library. But the cool thing is, even though it's not in my library, it's still giving me information from that book or that resource. So even though it's not from there, it can help me kind of get the ball rolling. So I can ask sort of a bigger question. And maybe if you're just starting out in Logos, maybe you don't have sort of an extensive library, but you can search everything that's available and it will create a synopsis based on a much bigger and broader theological library than you actually have access to, but it will create a synopsis based on everything within the Logos ecosystem. And I think that's a really cool feature as well. Okay, so enough about the search feature, but again, I think that that's worth the cost of the monthly subscription. I would probably pay the monthly subscription cost just for the search feature. I think it's incredibly effective, especially for those that already have some sort of a library. It's going to really help you to access those books that, I forgot that I even had that book, or I've never even opened that commentary. It will help you to draw from those things. So I was sort of asking more broad questions, but you could ask really specific questions about one verse or, again, the sky's the limit. Use your imagination on the kinds of questions that you could ask to that. And so much better than asking Google, and definitely better than asking ChatGPT or something like that. Okay, so one more tool that I want to show you before we talk about the subscription cost, but I want to show you the Bible Study Builder. I think this is a really cool new tool that they've added. and you can open up the Bible study builder. We can name this, or say Romans 12 study, okay? So we're going to pretend that we're creating a Bible study based on Romans chapter 12. So we want to type in the box here, Romans 12, and then it's going to create, again, using AI, it's going to draw from some books, first of all. So here's some different books, and it's going to draw some questions from these books that I can add to my Bible study that I can use for the study that I'm leading. But down here at the bottom, it's going to use AI to generate questions. So let's click on generate. Okay, so here it just came up with these questions. If you had to describe the themes of Romans 12 in 3 words, what would they be and why? So I like that question, so I can click here to move it to the Bible study, and that's going to be our number 1 question. And then what are some of the key instructions that Paul gives to believers in Romans 12 regarding living in harmony with one another? I like that. I'll add that to the question. But then we can also draw from some of these books up here. So here's a book. I think this is probably an N.T. Wright book. Studies for individuals or groups. And here's some discussion questions that we could add. Romans 12, 1 through 21, what does it mean to be, quote, living sacrifices? Okay, I like that question. We can add that, and let's make that number 1. So we'll drag that up to the top of our list, and now that becomes that becomes number 1. Read Romans 12, 1 through 21. What does it mean to be living sacrifices? And then the second question, if you had to describe the themes of Romans 12 in 3 words, what would they be and why? Okay, so I like this. We can begin to build out our Bible study, and then we can click on print, and we can print that and use that for our discussion Bible study with a small group, with a Bible class, or whatever. I really like this. This is one of the features that I think I really might take advantage of. I will say that the sermon builder, there are all kinds of sermon building tools, and I've never been a real big fan. So I'll be honest, I haven't really explored the sermon builder in this new update, but every time I try to switch over to Logos, it's just, it doesn't work for my workflow. It's not what I normally do, and so I've had a really hard time trying to move over to that. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of having my entire sermon library of sermons that I've written available in Logos, and I really like the idea of having them linked by scripture, and so I want to see, okay, what all have I preached on Romans? What all have I preached on the book of Romans? What all have I preached on the book of Philippians? And being able to look at all of those in a glance to see what I've preached from those passages. I really like that. But some of the features that they have for printing it out, it just doesn't fit my formatting style. And then the slide builder, I like the idea of being able to build my slides and write my sermon all at the same time. And there's a lot of great ideas, but the functionality of it just really hasn't fit my workflow in the past. So that's one of the features about Logos that I've just never been a real big fan of. I probably need to try it again, give them another shot at that, but that's been something that hasn't really ever been helpful to me. Okay, I do want to talk about the prices for the software. And again, I think, especially if you ever explored Logos before, and you said, this is just too expensive, I can't invest hundreds and hundreds of dollars in order to get into this software, then I think you're going to be really excited. The low level is about $10 a month, which is for Bible class teachers, small group leaders, those kinds of things. The next level is a little less than $15 a month, and then the highest level is $20 a month. The mid-level is sort of for preachers and ministers, and the top level, I think that they make that for academics, people really doing a lot of in-depth Bible research, those kinds of things. So the mid-level might be great for a lot of people. I mean, some people might really appreciate the lowest level, the $10 a month. Again, I think it's like $9.99 or something like that. But it's about $10, $15, and $20. Now, if you already have Logos, like if you bought a previous version of Logos, you might be able to get it for a little less price. And again, if you go to the show notes, you should find a link, or you can go to radicallychristian.com/Logos, and you can get an extended free trial. So again, I think that there's really, I would say, no excuse, but this may not interest you at all. But I think that if you are at all interested, this would be a great time to just explore it, see if this might work for you. If you do any kind of sermon preparation or Bible class preparation, if you do any kind of in-depth Bible study, this is really helpful, because when you subscribe, they give you access to sort of a rented library, so they won't be your books. If you already have books, they're your books, whether you get the subscription or not. Those books will always be your books, they tell me. But if you don't have a library in Logos and you're going to subscribe for the first time, or you're going to try out the free trial, you will get access to a library of books. So you can begin to draw from various resources. And then when free books come out, add those to your library. If you find a book that you really like, add that to your library. Again, the search feature is going to draw from all of those books that are in your library, both the ones that Logos gives you access to and the ones that you purchase. And then it's going to draw from those and going to create the synopsis and tell you where you can find the larger answer. And I think you're really gonna gain a lot from that. Another feature that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is the mobile app. I love the fact that I have my entire Bible library available on my phone. It's really pretty amazing. And so I will do, same kinds of things. You can even do the search feature on the mobile app. So the mobile app makes it possible for you to take the Logos library and the Logos tools with you wherever you go. So it's incredibly helpful and incredibly powerful. Again, I'm an affiliate, have an affiliate relationship with Logos, and so I do get some benefit from recommending this to you. But they are gracious enough to share this with me and make this available, this extended free trial, to my listeners at no extra charge for you. So it works out for all of us. And I really think that if you're looking for a better way, a more in-depth way, a digital way to study the Bible, I think this could be really helpful for you. Again, there's a lot of the features that I'm really just barely scratching the surface on, a lot that I still don't understand, I still need to learn, but I've loved what I've seen so far, and I've enjoyed studying with this tool, and I know that it's been helpful for me, and I would not recommend it to you unless I thought it would be helpful for you as well. So if you're interested, check it out, radicallychristian.com/Logos, or you can find the link in the show notes. As always, thank you so very much for listening, and I hope that this conversation helps all of us learn to love like Jesus.